I'm going to go through the basics of the touch panel. So on the bottom row, we have all our selections to navigate the mixers on the left-hand side and then the speakers on the right-hand side. Mixers labeled with two buttons, one for the chapel and one for the sanctuary monitor speaker. And then for the outputs, it shows all the speakers that you can select from. We'll start with the left-hand side here on the chapel. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit so you can see a little better. On the chapel, you'll have the Ambo, the Monastic Ambo, the two wireless, and the CD player on the mixer page. When you are, my screen keeps getting too bright. When you recall the basic setting here, which is the default, that's preset number 1, that will look like this, where the Monastic Ambo is muted. Mute means red and green means live, so those are the microphone inputs. If I tap one and it touch it, it will go to mute state. The arrows are two function. You can push and ramp, or you can tap and they will go up step by step. You want to see the microphones usually around the 0 dB green line there. And there are meters showing activity of the microphones on the left of each of those displays. I'm going to hit recall here, and that'll put that back to that state with the Monastic Ambo still muted. If I go to the Mix 2 page of the chapel, that shows us the piano and organ inputs. And what those do are showing the inputs on the floor pockets next to piano and organ. Those are labeled in the pockets as 345 by the organ and 678 by the piano. Just so you know, we have the power, phantom power turned on for the microphones that you use there, and the ones we have dedicated on the recalled basic state, the default state, is that the organ 4 and piano number 7, or the center jacks on both of those panels, are the only ones that are ready to go when you go to the default state. Just so you know, those are the two that we have dialed in for the microphones that you use at the piano and organist. And be aware that those are the center ones, because that way the cable slides easily through the slot on the lid of the floor pockets. So those are the two you want to be able to use on a default state if people come to this page and hit recall. You can save another state on the mixes, just so you know, where you have a second setting. So the default will always be able to be recalled, but you can't save over it. But the second state, you can recall and save a different setting for it. So let's say if you wanted to mute this and turn it down or something and save that as your second, you can always go back to the default on the first preset there, but you can't write over that. So that's how that's set up. On the Sanctuary mixers, we also added the ability to see that the mute and level for the speaker is on that page, because it may be confusing to the user to see that they'd have to go to the speakers page. But on the speakers page, we do have the chapel speaker, as well, or the chapel speakers, as well as the sanctuary speaker and the gathering space. Now that we're on the output page, I wanted to show you two things. We have the default page for here. The default state for the outputs is that the sanctuary speaker is turned off or muted. If you do want to make that normally on, we can talk about adding another preset here for it, but right now I just wanted to make it so that, you know, if somebody needs to come set up the room and you just tell them on each page to put it to the default state, we should be with the sanctuary speaker off. We can talk about that if we need to update that or add any changes down the road. The second thing that I wanted to show you on the outputs page is it has a unique preset here where you're using the wireless microphones in the gathering space. So when you push this button here, what happens is this set of microphones now slide over from the right on the outputs page to get you level controls and mute capabilities for the two wireless microphones that are now being routed to the gathering space. Just so you know, when you're in this state and you happen to be on the chapel page, it will tell you and indicate that right now those two wireless microphones that occupy this space right here are currently being utilized in the gathering space, which is what it says. But if you push this button here, it will take you back to normal, and it will reset this so that these go back to normal as well. So whether you're on this page here and want to get back, or if you're here and you go to the chapel you can always push that button and it gets you back to where the chapel now has the wireless microphones back in the space. So that's how to operate it. Just to quickly reiterate, we have the mixers on the left and the speakers on the right, and each mixer has two sets of inputs that we have on the page. So the first set is the ambos, the two wireless, and the CD player, and then the second mix is the organ and piano floor pockets, and it just goes to the same for the sanctuary. So when I'm in the sanctuary monitor, I've got the two ambos, two wireless, and CD player. What's a little different is, unlike the chapel speakers, the sanctuary speakers show the actual speaker controls on this page as well, just to keep things a little simpler for you. And normally, for the sanctuary monitors, you may have maybe these two on and maybe just the wireless and the ambo. I would not turn the monastic ambo on in the sanctuary speaker just because there's no need for them to hear them standing right in front of the speaker. So that's the way the mixer operates here at the rack location.